Good afternoon. Stephen O'Sullivan here again, and welcome to another episode of Business Spotlight. Today with me, I have Jake from Propti. Jake, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, good to have you here. So can you tell us a little bit about your business, what it does, who the customers are?
Yeah, sure. So basically what we like to consider ourselves as an aggregator for property reports. Property reports, there's a large spectrum of them out there, whether it's pre-purchase, post-purchase, during the construction stage. Basically, we like to give ourselves as a one-stop shop in organizing these reports. Mainly our target markets have been solicitors, conveyancers, accountants, private lenders, property developers, basically property professionals, with the aim to basically help them organize any type of report they need. Do you want me to go into the reports themselves?
Yeah. Tell us about what they are. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So basically, the types of reports we cater for is strata reports, building and pest reports, depreciation reports, all types of valuations. We kind of founded ourselves through valuations. So my background was a mortgage broker, which kind of led into private lending. From there, it was very difficult for us as private lenders to find the values we needed based on the insurances. So I started collecting a database of valuers that could essentially help us. And from there, we realized that there's a lot of reports out there that people simply need help with, because there's a lot of time involved in organizing, chasing, getting quotes. And that's kind of how we formulated the company.
Excellent. Excellent. So you were scratching your own itch, so to speak. You saw a gap there.
Pretty much, yeah. So I didn't really solve my problem. I'm solving everyone else's problem because I'm still going through that process.
That's a good basis for having a successful business. So
That's it.
from what I understand, you're kind of 2 years in.
Yep.
How has the journey been so far?
It's been really good and exciting. I mean, I enjoy it a lot. Not to say that it's not a grind. It is a grind. And I think it always will be a grind. But I enjoy it. I mean, at first, when you're not sure whether you can validate it, it's quite challenging to know what the risks are involved in terms of your personal life, obviously. Whether, you could go make more money elsewhere or you want to take the risk on yourself. And I think for me, the opportunity was there. We kind of validated the business, I guess, quite early on, and jumped on board and ran with it.
Excellent.
And
Excellent.
still running with it, yeah.
Yeah. What does the validation process kind of look like? How did you go about that?
Well, fortunately for us, I mean, with a background in broking, there were a few, partners who we could talk to quite easily, whether they were solicitors, whether they were other accountants or other brokers, to see whether there was an actual need for this service. And through the private lending space, there were a few valuers that the private lender was actually dealing with already. So we could kind of coordinate those quite seamlessly, to make sure that it worked before we go and invest money into the actual business. And then from there, it's basically just growing it, seeing what works, what doesn't work, testing it with a really small, I guess, target market or community. And then once it's kind of rolling, then you can start like experimenting, start advertising to new people, and eventually it's just this growing thing that hopefully doesn't stop.
Yeah, no, that's it's really refreshing to hear that you're starting really early with customer feedback. Often
Yeah,
startups based
yeah.
on a product that we think might be a great idea, invest too heavily into it, and it doesn't land.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, that's the idea. I think specifically nowadays in the modern market, and not so much like 5 years ago when it was quite easy to get capital. I think if you don't have feedback early on, you might end up just wasting so many resources that you can't actually, it's not feasible to actually do, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So you've grown to the point where you've brought some staff on. Um, what's your approach to leadership?
Um, to be honest, I'm like, I don't know if you're going to delete this or not, but the staff is like virtual. They basically help with admin.
Yep.
So in terms of like motivation. I guess money motivates them at this stage. I'm not really in that leadership role as of yet. I'm pretty much hands on everything.
Mhm.
They do assist in some shape or form, but it's not on a day-to-day basis. I think for me, if I was to be a leader, it would be I would focus on being fair and honest as opposed to direct, because I feel as though the employer will need to learn, and you have to be lenient with them in those learning stages. B, if you're too tough on them too early, they're not going to understand the job at hand. And it also goes kind of against what we're about. What we want to try and do is build a community where people are learning and kind of making it easier for everyone within the community to actually, you know, order these reports, as funny as that sounds to say. So in terms of my leadership, what I'd like to do is just be as relaxed, be as to the point, but also be lenient in the sense that they're not going to get it immediately. Everyone has to learn, and through that they'll grow, and then essentially they'll be loyal to you because you've been loyal to them. Hopefully, I mean, it doesn't necessarily happen in all aspects, but I think that's the idea. Just to be fair.
Nice, nice. And following on that theme of learning, Jake, what are you doing, or have you been doing to develop yourself as an entrepreneur?
Reading. I've taken up reading. Never used to read. Never read a book through school. Hated it. But now I've taken up reading because you learn a lot from what other people experience.
Yep.
And the people, I mean, my friends and family are quite entrepreneurial. They're the community that I'm in, fortunate enough, people have taken risks. But it's very important to also learn from other people, because a lot of the time you'll learn on your own, and without getting kind of words of advice from other entrepreneurs or other people who are going through what you're going through, it's very difficult to kind of relate, if that makes sense. A lot of people will go through that consulting route or through those corporate routes, and if you're asking them for advice, it's very difficult for them to acknowledge what you do, because essentially, I don't want to say, but they're like a cog in a system almost, whereas there is no system in place for us to kind of be a cog in. Everything you're learning on the go.
Nice, nice. Yeah, there's the one common ingredient amongst all successful people is reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good.
And
What?
also taking on advice from other people as well. I mean, we're constantly like giving and taking feedback from what works with other people and what doesn't. So each broker or each solicitor has their own kind of niche that they're acquiring, whether the customer kind of wants, or whether their client basically wants to be talked through the process, or whether they just want speed, or whether it's just on cost. You have to understand exactly what your partner's interested in, and that way you'll kind of grow because you're helping them for that route, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, nice, nice. What challenges do you see ahead for the business?
Um, Challenges. Well, I mean, that's a good question. What challenges? I guess consistency. Um, right now, the way our business is modeled, it's not as consistent as we'd like it to be. Sorry, I'm just kind of thinking. Um, it's there's a few challenges actually. Firstly, with regards to, I mean, each report has its own challenges. First challenge being within strata reports and building and pest reports, there's a major challenge involved. Basically, how we view it is there's a huge conflict of interest right now in the market as to what's happening. A lot of the real estate agents are organizing these reports. Now, the first challenge with that is there's a massive conflict of interest because these agents are trying to sell the property. These reports are meant to tell you what's wrong with the property, but the agents themselves don't want that to happen. So there's a massive issue with that. It's not so much a challenge for us, because we're kind of looking after, we're basically a third party with no buyers involved. So the challenge, I guess, for the real estate agents, I guess in the system, sorry, is that it's it's a fine balancing act on what you're receiving and what you're buying, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
In terms of valuation, there's only certain valuers in certain regions that can do certain reports. So there's a massive challenge in that. Speaking to inspectors, there's been these massive price competitive issues happening within the market. So the really good, expensive, basically inspectors are being pushed out the market because there's low barriers to entry to become these building and pest inspectors. So there's a lot of niche challenges within the whole industry that basically we're trying to solve. Our biggest challenge is right now trying to kind of market ourselves and get out there so as many people are using us as possible. I think there's a massive need for us within the market. And yeah, that's our challenge, basically getting out there.
What are you currently trying in the sales and marketing space?
A lot of social marketing, a lot of like, I feel like we've gained traction through the partners we've created already. So every time we meet a new partner, we say, hey, do you have anyone else, you know, who you would think or recommend to use our services to? And we'll go reach out to those people. It's a very word of mouth approach, but I feel like for us, I mean, we could do direct to consumer and get a report here and there, but the idea is to build these relationships so we're getting consistent, and we can explain the services at hand. Ideally, by doing this, we create, which is why we basically advertise all the partners that use our services, is because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the people understand, or people purchasing property understand exactly what they're getting. And they're advised by people who are qualified or at least understand what's going on, because there's a lot of shonkiness that happens within the industry. I've seen it firsthand, where a conveyancer won't do any work and they'll just say, yeah, it's fine, and not really go through any of the reports, or a buyer's agent will say, yeah, I'm the best buyer's agent ever, and nothing really happens. So there's a lot of that in the industry, and what we're trying to develop is basically a large community of people that can all leverage business off each other, as well as a consumer can come and log on and see, okay, if Propti is vetted this company, I'm sure they're going to be great. Which is, yeah, another thing.
Yeah, excellent. Where looking into the future, where do you see the business in the next 2 years?
In the next 2 years, much bigger and more public, I'm hoping. I feel like we're really trying to solve a problem. And I'm hoping that, you know, we've got a database and a platform where a consumer can find a broker, find a buyer's agent, find a real estate agent, find a solicitor to help them actually go through the entire process. And we coordinate the reports for them on that end. By doing that, it basically streamlines the whole process. And that's what I want it to be like in 2 years. I want someone just to be able to ask the simple questions, find someone that's willing to help them, not be so expensive, and basically walk them through the whole process. Right now, there's so many different touch points that it's very difficult for someone to kind of wrap their head around, especially being a first-time buyer. And so in 2 years' time, I'm hoping to be able to help people walk through that whole entire journey.
And how much bigger will the business be?
In terms of people, or in terms of dollars?
Whatever metric you want to use. Like, will it be 10 times, 20 times?
Yeah, I mean, like, what I don't like to think about. I don't want to put I want it to be as big as it possibly can get. I mean, right now we're nationwide and we're a pretty small team. In 2 years, I'm hoping to have people in each state being able to do exactly what I do, in different areas, reaching out to different, basically property professionals, advising them on where to go and the benefits of our services. I would like to be, 200,000 times. I don't really want to stop. I feel like our target market's so large that it's possible. I'd like to be, in New Zealand as well. So in terms of what we're trying to achieve, we're trying to, scale it very big, by creating these communities, and growing slowly, but eventually I think it will pay off to be a much grander business. As cocky, I don't like to sound cocky, but yeah, I don't really want, I want this to be big.
Nice. And for it to be big,
yeah,
what growth do you need to go through?
It's a good question. For us to be big, we need a lot more people, people who can actually understand the service that we're trying to provide. Like I said, we need people on the road. We need people constantly reaching out to new people, seeing whether they're interested in our services, seeing if we can help them in any way, shape, or form. In terms of like the resources that we need, it would be, I don't want to say capital because we're not interested in necessarily raising right now, but what we're looking to do is scale, and by scale, you need manpower to have that hard growth. I think a lot of startups in recent times have tried to grow too quickly and taken on too much capital and kind of burned through that, which is kind of why you're seeing a lot of people let go in these massive, I guess, startups. We don't want to do that. We want to hire right and hire. We just want to hire right. I think if we hire right, we'll be able to achieve our goals. And we take care in basically hiring right. I don't know.
Yep. No, it seems sensible. He's getting really good at getting the right people on the bus.
Yeah, correct. I think if you have a good team around you, you're going to be able to achieve what you want quite efficiently as well.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. It is exciting. It is a grind, though. I will repeat that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so thinking about your community, your target market, whoever's watching this, how can they get in touch with you if they need?
Yeah, sure. It's as simple as just sending me an email or giving me a phone call. I'm more than happy to go for coffee with anyone. I think talking to as many people, regardless if it's a time waster or not, is still very important. So yeah, if anyone wants to sign up, whether they're a solicitor, broker, accountant, real estate agent, whomever, or if they just simply need a report, they can either send me an email or give me a phone call. I'm more than happy to, meet them at any time of the day.
Excellent, and we'll put those details in the notes so people can reach out.
Fantastic, I appreciate that.
Well, thanks Jake for sharing your story. Really appreciate it. It's exciting what you're going on, and we love to see businesses trying to go big. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that. Thank you.